Good morning, dear friend. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Not the version of you that's got it all together for Instagram. Not the you that smiled at the barista and said I'm good, thanks. I'm talking to the you that woke up this morning, stared at the ceiling for 47 seconds, and felt the weight of an unfinished week already pressing on your chest like a stack of unpaid bills. You know the feeling. It's Wednesday. Not Monday, where you can still pretend you're motivated. Not Friday, where you can taste the weekend like a cheap happy hour margarita. It's Wednesday. The awkward middle child of the week. The day where hope goes to die and caffeine becomes a personality trait. And here you are. Alive. Awake. But if we're being brutally honest, and I think we've earned that with each other, you're not really awake. Not in your soul. Your body showed up, but your heart is still under the covers, replaying every decision you're too scared to make, every prayer you've whispered that seems to have hit a celestial voicemail, every disappointment that's quietly stacking up like unread emails you keep ignoring. Or maybe, and this one's the sneaky one, maybe it's God. Maybe you're disappointed with Him. There. I said it. Someone had to. You've been praying. You've been showing up. You've been doing the things. And the breakthrough? Still MIA. The healing? Still on backorder. The direction you begged for? All you hear is the sound of your own anxiety doing karaoke in your head. And you're wondering, did I do something wrong? Is my faith too small? Did God put me on mute? Let me tell you something before we go any further. You're not broken. You're not forgotten. And you're definitely not the first person to wake up on a Wednesday morning feeling like the whole abundant life thing was a marketing scheme. But here's where it gets interesting. What if this morning isn't just a random square on the calendar? What if this Wednesday, this awkward, unremarkable, middle-of-the-week morning is actually a holy setup? I'm not being dramatic. Okay, maybe a little. But stay with me. There's this concept I've been wrestling with. I call it a holy pivot. It's that moment in an otherwise ordinary day where heaven quietly intervenes. No angels with trumpets. No burning bushes. Just a shift. A whisper. A truth that lands differently than it did yesterday. A moment where you realize that the very thing you've been calling a dead end might actually be an altar. Think about it. The Bible is basically a highlight reel of God showing up on random Tuesdays. Moses was literally at work, doing his day job, herding sheep that weren't even his, when a bush caught fire and everything changed. Gideon was hiding in a winepress, freaking out about the economy, when an angel called him a mighty warrior. Peter was washing his nets after a night of catching absolutely nothing, and Jesus borrowed his boat and wrecked his whole worldview. None of these people were at a revival. None of them were on a spiritual retreat. They were just existing. Working. Stressing. Failing. And God met them in the middle of it. So let me ask you something. And I want you to actually sit with this for a second. Don't just skim past it like a terms and conditions agreement. What if this Wednesday morning, the one where you woke up tired and a little bit cynical and maybe even a little bit angry at God, what if this is the place where He's planning to meet you? What if the questions you've been asking aren't evidence of weak faith, but the actual building materials God uses to construct something unshakable? Because here's the POV shift that wrecked me and I can't unsee it. Jesus is walking with His disciples. They're on the road. It's just another travel day. Dusty feet. Probably bickering about who forgot to pack the bread again. And they pass a fig tree. Jesus does something weird, He curses it. The next morning, it's withered from the roots. The disciples are shook, as the kids say. And Peter points it out. Rabbi, look. The fig tree you cursed has withered. And Jesus drops this bombshell. Mark chapter 11, verse 22. Have faith in God. Then he keeps going. Truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, "Go, throw yourself into the sea," and does not doubt in their heart but believes that what they say will happen, it will be done for them. Now, let's be clear. Jesus isn't handing out architectural relocation services. He's not running a spiritual earth-moving company. The mountain isn't the point. The mountain is the metaphor. Your mountain is the financial disaster that keeps you awake. Your mountain is the marriage that feels like it's running on fumes. Your mountain is the diagnosis you didn't see coming, the addiction you can't shake, the depression that's been whispering lies so long you've started to believe them. Your mountain is the thing that makes you look at the sky and whisper, "God, do you even see this?" And Jesus, with dust still on his sandals, looks at you across 2,000 years and says, "You can tell it to move." Not because you're powerful. Not because you have perfect theology. Not because you've never doubted. But because the God who spoke galaxies into existence is listening when you speak. And I know what you're thinking right now. I can hear it. Because I've thought it too. But my faith is so small. You don't understand. I've been disappointed so many times. I've prayed and nothing happened. I've declared and the mountain didn't budge. My faith feels like a flickering candle in a hurricane. Good. That's actually good. Not the hurricane part. But the honest part. Because here's the truth that religious people won't always tell you. God isn't looking for perfect faith. He's looking for honest faith. He's not intimidated by your questions. He's not offended by your doubt. The Father in Mark chapter 9 literally shouted, "I believe, help my unbelief," and Jesus didn't say, "Come back when you've got it figured out." He healed the man's son immediately. I want to talk about what the Bible calls a prophetic act of faith. That's a fancy theological term that basically means this: you do something in the natural that unlocks something in the supernatural. You take a physical step that says, "God, I believe you before I see it." It's not a magic formula. Let me say that again because somebody needs to hear it. This is not a magic formula. You're not typing words into a cosmic vending machine, punching in the right code so blessings drop down. That's not how this works. That's superstition dressed up in Christian language, and God is not a genie. But here's what a prophetic act is. It's you aligning your actions with your faith. It's you putting weight on the promise before the promise puts weight under your feet. Think about Joshua and the Israelites in Joshua chapter 3. They're standing at the edge of the Jordan River. On the other side is the promised land, the thing God has been talking about for 40 years. But there's a problem. The river is at flood stage. It's not a cute little creek they can wade through. It's raging. Overflowing. Dangerous. And God tells the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant to do something absolutely insane. Step into the water. Not wait for the water to part first. Not stand on the bank and pray for a miracle. Step in. Get your feet wet. And here's the detail that rearranges my understanding of faith every time I read it. The water didn't part until their feet touched it. Verse 15 says as soon as their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. The miracle happened in the stepping, not in the waiting. So here's the prophetic act I'm inviting you into today. And I mean this. Don't just read it. Do it. In the comments right now, I want you to write these words: "I receive God's favor and I trust Him to make a way today." Type it out. Every word. Let your fingers make a declaration that your heart is learning to believe. Because when you speak it, when you write it, when you put it out there publicly, something shifts. Not because the comments section is magical, but because you just stopped being passive. You just stopped waiting for faith to feel comfortable. You just stepped into the water. And let me tell you why this matters so much right now. Because I know what some of you are carrying, and it's heavy. It's the kind of heavy you don't post about. It's the kind of heavy you don't even tell your closest friends because you don't want to burden them. Or maybe because you're ashamed. Or maybe because you've tried to explain it before and they just didn't get it. Maybe for you, it's financial pressure. And I'm not talking about, oh, I need to cut back on Starbucks. I'm talking about the kind where you lie awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, doing math in your head that never adds up. You're calculating and recalculating, trying to figure out how to stretch what isn't enough. And the anxiety doesn't just stay in your bank account. It follows you to the dinner table. It sits with you while you're pretending to watch TV. It whispers, "You're failing. You're not providing. What's wrong with you?" Maybe it's a relationship that's fractured. A marriage that feels like two strangers sharing a house. A child who won't speak to you. A parent who hurt you and never apologized. And you've tried to fix it. You've had the hard conversations. You've prayed. You've cried. And nothing has changed. And now there's this quiet, bitter thought that creeps in when you least expect it. Maybe God doesn't care about this. Maybe He's busy with bigger problems. Or maybe it's just the loneliness. That's the one nobody talks about, isn't it? You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely invisible. You can have a full schedule and an empty heart. You can smile at work and laugh at the right moments and still go home and feel like you're disappearing. And you wonder if anyone would even notice if you just stopped trying so hard. Can I tell you something? And I need you to really hear this. God sees all of it. He sees the bank account. He sees the broken relationship. He sees you sitting in your car in the driveway, not wanting to go inside because you don't have the energy to pretend anymore. He sees the tears you cried in the shower so no one would hear. He sees the part of you that's exhausted from being strong. And here's the thing about God that religious people sometimes get wrong. He doesn't shame you for your weakness. He doesn't roll His eyes at your struggle. He doesn't say, "Come back when you've got more faith." The Bible says He is close to the brokenhearted. He is near to those who are crushed in spirit. Not the ones who have it all together. Not the ones who never doubt. The broken ones. The crushed ones. The ones who are barely holding on. That's who He draws close to. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. You've probably heard it 100 times. But I want you to hear it fresh. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. Now, I've read that verse most of my life, and I used to think it was just a nice little platitude. Trust God. Don't rely on yourself. Got it. But then I started paying attention to that middle phrase. Lean not on your own understanding. And I realized that's exactly where I get stuck. Because my understanding is so limited. My understanding looks at a closed door and says, rejection. My understanding looks at a delay and says, failure. My understanding looks at silence and says, God has forgotten me. But what if your understanding is wrong? What if that closed door isn't rejection, it's protection? What if God closed it because He knows what's on the other side, and He loves you too much to let you walk into a disaster? What if the delay isn't punishment, it's preparation? What if He's working something in you during the waiting that you couldn't get any other way? Heavenly Father, I come before you right now, not with polished words or religious performance, just me. The real me. The one who's been overthinking every decision, replaying conversations at 2 a.m., wondering if I missed your voice somewhere along the way. I come to you tired of trying to figure it all out on my own. I come to you with the weight of choices that feel too heavy, with the confusion that won't stop circling my mind, with the quiet fear that maybe I've already messed things up beyond repair. Lord, I'm asking for clarity. Not the kind the world promises, not a 5-step plan or a guaranteed outcome. I'm asking for your clarity. The kind that doesn't always explain everything but gives me peace anyway. The kind that says, you don't need to see the whole staircase, just take the next step. Give me wisdom, Father. Real wisdom. Not just information. Not just opinions from well-meaning people. Your wisdom. The kind that cuts through noise. The kind that helps me discern what's your voice and what's just my anxiety pretending to be logic. I've confused those two so many times. I've called fear being careful and called control being responsible. Untangle that in me, God. I'm asking you to align my timing with yours, because I'll be honest, my timing has been way off. I've rushed doors you wanted me to wait at, and I've hesitated at doors you were actively opening. Realign me. Reset my internal clock to match your purposes, not my panic. And Father, I'm asking you to bring the right people onto my path. Not just any people, the ones you've assigned. The ones who will speak truth even when it's uncomfortable. The ones who will see what I can't see and say what I need to hear. Protect me from voices that sound good but lead nowhere. Protect me from advice that feels affirming but pulls me off course. Give me discernment to recognize who you've sent and who the enemy has disguised. I don't want to build my life on someone else's opinion when you're trying to give me revelation. Lord, I need you to take what's swirling in my head and bring it into order. Right now, my thoughts feel like a browser with 40 tabs open and half of them are frozen. I've been carrying anxiety I didn't even realize was anxiety until it started showing up in my body, in my sleep, in the way I snap at people I love. I've been operating in a low-grade fear that's become so normal I forgot what peace even feels like. Take it. I don't want it anymore. I'm not asking for a life with no problems, I'm asking for peace in the middle of the problems. That peace that doesn't make sense. The peace that's still there when the bank account hasn't changed, when the relationship is still strained, when the diagnosis hasn't shifted. That's the peace I'm desperate for. The peace that isn't dependent on my circumstances being perfect, because they never will be. The peace that's anchored in who you are, not what I'm facing. And I need to say this part out loud, even if it's just me in this room right now, I'm not asking for supernatural favor because I want to be rich. I'm not asking for miracles so I can show off. I'm asking for your presence. I'm asking for your faithfulness to show up in the ordinary moments, in the conversation I'm dreading, in the decision I keep postponing, in the relationship that feels irreparable. I'm asking for the kind of favor that looks like protection I didn't know I needed. The kind that looks like a door closing that I would have walked through and been destroyed. The kind that looks like a delay that was actually a setup for something better. I'm asking for you to be real to me, not in a theological concept way, but in a I know you're here right now way. So I'm making this declaration, and I'm not just saying words, I'm planting a stake in the ground. I declare this day belongs to you, God. Not to my anxiety. Not to my circumstances. Not to the enemy's lies that have been playing on repeat in my mind. This day is yours. You are ordering my steps, even the ones that feel random, even the ones that feel like detours. You're in the detours. You're in the waiting rooms. You're in the closed doors and the open ones and the ones that are barely cracked. Your favor surrounds me like a shield, not because I'm perfect, not because I've earned it, but because you're good and that's who you are. I'm walking in that favor today. Not trying to earn it. Not begging for it. Receiving it. Because it's already been given. And now, Lord, I ask you to guard my mind. Actively guard it. Because my mind is where the battle starts, it's where the enemy whispers, you're failing, you're behind, you're not enough, God's forgotten you. I'm shutting those thoughts down right now. They don't get to stay. I'm not entertaining them, I'm not analyzing them, I'm not giving them a seat at the table. You said you would keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you, so I'm fixing my mind on you. When it wanders, bring it back. When it spirals, interrupt the spiral. When it starts constructing worst-case scenarios, remind me that you're already in the future I'm afraid of, and you've made provision. For the person who's exhausted, not just physically tired, but soul tired, I ask for fresh strength right now. The kind that doesn't come from caffeine or a weekend off or a motivational podcast. The kind that comes from you. Supernatural renewal. The energy to take one more step when quitting feels easier. The grace to be kind when I'm running on empty. The ability to hope when hope feels like a luxury I can't afford. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May He open doors that no person can shut, and may He close doors that no person can open, because He knows what's on the other side and He loves you too much to let you walk into destruction.